All right, everybody. My name is Nick Taylor. I'm from Northport Church of Christ, and we will be doing a Bible study this morning. I help lead one of the classes we do at Northport on Sunday mornings, and had something that we wanted to share, and we're going to try to go through the everyone else is going to the online YouTube slash videos, so we're going to try the same thing today. Um, had something I wanted to share, and I thought that it'd be good during this time of a pandemic. This is not going to be any kind of study on kind of end times and what this means, and if this sometimes somehow God's judgment on us or anything like that. It's not going to be that. So don't want to disappoint you. If you're looking for that type of thing, you have to click somewhere else. Probably not even going to be anything that's going to help if you've got worry or anxiety or fear, any of these type of things. It's going to be a little bit different. So if you're looking for those, like I said, sorry to disappoint. And if you've been in the Bible classes that we have at Northport with me or our groups on Sunday nights or anything, you've probably heard this before. So I apologize for the repeat. And I will say this: I had almost gotten used to speaking to a few different people, maybe like 15, 20 people in class at a time. For somebody like me, that's even a challenge. And for some reason, talking into this little camera is worse. I don't get it, but this is worse. I don't know why. Anyway, we're gonna keep going. All right, we're gonna start studying 2 Corinthians chapter 4. So if you would turn there with me, we're gonna read a little bit. First, I guess while you're turning there, we'll talk about kind of why we're even going into this section. And there's so much going on right now, and you look on the news, you hear anything going on right now, it's all about uncertainty and fear. You see death numbers and what's next, and who's saying predicting this, and this happened, and this was actually wrong on the prediction, and here's the new prediction. And you're hearing these these interest stories, I guess personal interest stories, where they were interviewing people that's gone through the pandemic in another part of the world. You hear people that are having loved ones suffer, and I guess the stories that I'm hearing that kind of spurred me to want to kind of study this a little bit with you this morning was the ones that I'm hearing where people are going into the hospital, they are being pulled away from their families. The families can't visit. They can't be in the room with them because of the virus and the conditions of everything. They're being pushed out into the not even waiting rooms, but away from there at home, and they're talking to the loved ones on. I'm seeing stories where a nurse is FaceTiming with her iPhone the loved ones' families as they're about to pass away in the hospital by themselves, and I'm hearing people say, "Oh, that's the worst thing ever. I can't imagine going through that." And what these kind of things. So as all these type of stories are rolling in, I need us to go somewhere. And Paul has a secret in chapter 4, 2 Corinthians chapter 4, towards the end of the chapter. We're going to dig into it. He's got it's kind of a two-part thing. They both are related to each other. So while we turn there, and I guess I can give you this. This isn't a secret about how to make N95 mask at home with personal items, or some kind of cure to avoid the zombie apocalypse during this pandemic, or anything like that, or a vaccine, or anything how to live in these times. None of that. But I would if I told you that Paul had a secret here. Paul had a secret that even when a worldwide pandemic happens, even when you are thrust into a situation that you can't imagine how bad it is, that you could have a heart that doesn't fail. Now that's a big statement. What if he told you had a secret that if you had this scenario that he's going to describe, that your heart would not fail, you would not have a heart that failed? Now that's a big deal. That's a big deal. So we're going to try to. That would be a huge thing in April of 2020. Right now, if we had that, if you could hand that to people and pass that out, I think people would line up for that before they would all this other stuff anyway. So go to 2 Corinthians chapter 4. We're going to read. Actually, I kind of give you a little heads up. Verse 6. We're going to be in verse 16 in 2 Corinthians chapter 4. The first part of the secret to not be to have a heart that doesn't fail is going to be in verse 16. The second part is going to be in 17 and 18. So first part in 16, we're going to read the whole thing, then we'll kind of go back and dig into it just a little bit. But before we do that, I guess this would be a good time to do this. Back up just a little bit. We're going to go to the beginning of chapter 4 and actually back into chapter 3 just for a minute. I know sometimes when somebody says, all right, we're going to be on this verse, and they back way up, you think, okay, how long is it going to be till we get there? Hang on. Be patient just for a second. All right, if you get into chapter 3, you'll see some stuff that Paul's talking about. He does a lot of different stuff. He's talking about Moses' face and the veil. You remember when he saw God and all the different things that were going on. and catch up with me as he starts comparing that on how the veil is going to be lifted and that kind of thing in the last part of chapter 3. Skip down to verse 18. I want you got to see something, and it's going to kind of repeat itself at the end of the chapter. It's going to help us to find out this secret here in just a minute. All right. So 2 Corinthians 3, verse 18. And we all, with unveiled face, beholding the glory of the Lord, are being transformed into the same image from one degree to another. For this comes from the Lord who is a spirit. So I want you to look, kind of go back. There's a lot of stuff going on there. We could dig into the unveiled face and the glory of the Lord, which the glory of the Lord shows up in chapter 4 in the middle of it, which is the part we're not going to deal with today. But there's a lot of neat stuff going on in there. But I want you to look at this. We all, then he talks about a little bit of something there, but then we all are being transformed. All right, I want you to remember that. We all are being transformed. Now, what that looks like, Nick, I'm not sure. Hang on just a minute. We're going to get there. Something that I do, and I'm not a studied or a educated Bible person, so I forget this sometimes when I'm reading. These chapters and verses and stuff, we inserted as people. We put those in, and I know that's not a revelation to anybody. Most people know that. But sometimes I'll stop there and think, okay, that's obviously the end of that chapter. We can close that. This thought keeps going, all right? Look at it. When we finish verse 18 there, go to the chapter 4, verse 1, which pretend like that chapter is not there. That chapter, that number 4 is not there. And when you see therefore, here's something that, like I said, and I hope that I'm not taking this liberty too far, but when you see the word therefore, I've always heard somebody in Bible teachers will tell you, hey, if you see the word therefore, you need to find out what that word is there for. That sounds good. I don't really understand exactly what that means other than this. When I see therefore, I don't use that word when I talk. If I say therefore to you when I'm talking to you, I'm talking down. I'm about to say something bad to you, right? That's not even a word I come up with under normal circumstances. Even though this is the English Standard Version I'm reading from, when I see therefore, I can't remember who. I know several people have mentioned this before. Put the word so there. All right, when you see therefore, so read this with me. I'm going to put, starting in verse 18, and we are being transformed. Skip down to verse 1. Instead of therefore, say, so having this ministry by the mercy of God, we do not lose heart. So what we're going to get to here is we are being transformed, so because we're being transformed, we're not losing heart. There's the promise we're about to find at the end of the chapter. So I want us to see that there's a connection between being transformed up here in chapter 3 and 4 when they kind of tie together. That's all I want to pull from that. There's a lot of other stuff going on, but I want to pull from that we are being transformed and we do not lose heart. We're transformed so we don't lose heart. All right, somehow that's connected. Now, what does that look like? We're going to try to dig out and figure that out as we go. All right, skip down to the end of the chapter. Back to where we were. Everybody got a little worried we were going to get sidetracked a long time there. Chapter 4, verse 16. Here's our goal. This is what we have. This is the promise. This is the secret. This is the thing we're trying to figure out. So we do not lose heart. So you do not lose heart. And even though bad things are going on, I want you to be able to say, I do not lose heart. My heart is not failing. I still have a strong heart. All right, that's our goal. We'll read all of it to the end of the chapter, and then we're going to keep going. And then we'll come back and dissect a little bit. So we do not lose heart. Though our outer nature is wasting away, our inner nature is being renewed day by day. For this slight momentary affliction is preparing us for eternal weight of glory beyond all comparison, as we look not to things that are seen, but to the things that are unseen. For the things that are seen are transient, but the things that are unseen are eternal. All right, so a lot of stuff going on there in the back half of that little section. We're going to focus on verse 16 for right now. All right, I think we all probably can figure out what's going on. He says, though our outer nature is wasting away. So he's talking about two different parts of you. Your outer nature and your inner nature. All right, obviously the outer nature, he even talks about, you skip down in chapter 5, he compares your outer nature to a tent, something real temporary. And he talks about in chapter 5, verse 1, he says the tent's being destroyed. So he's kind of doing the same thing in chapter 5 there, but you'll see, though our outer nature, chapter 4, verse 16, our outer nature is wasting away, it's being destroyed. And when I was younger and after I heard some of that, and some of you are sitting there as 20 years old or 18 or 25, and you're hearing, my outer nature looks pretty much like it's always looked. I can't see any. Trust me, all right, folks that are older than me, I'm 37 at the moment. People that are older than me say, just wait, Nick, 37, just wait. I'm telling you right now, I see my outer nature wasting away. If you want to see the epitome of the old man trying to do stuff with his kids and he comes up hurt, that's me. That's it. That's an everyday thing. Your outer nature is wasting away. It is on a downhill slide. Boy, that sounds real positive. It's the truth. It's on a downhill slide. But look what else he says. Though that's happening, your outer nature is slowly coming, it's slowing down, it's ruining, it's being destroyed. Your inner nature is doing something else. Not only is it could be doing the same thing. It could be doing the same thing as your outer nature. It can be getting run down, but look what it says. Our inner nature, though our outer nature is getting torn up and destroyed, our inner nature is being renewed day by day. All right, so you see one's going down, got downhill on the slope, when the other one is going up on a daily basis. It's somehow getting, even though it's getting run down on a daily basis, it's getting picked back up somehow. All right, we got to dig into that. All right. There was a connection I saw, and this was a couple years ago. I'll be honest with you, the guy that I saw it from, his name's John Piper. He's a writer, probably written, I think, 50-something books. I've read a couple of them. He has a lot of good things to say. He's probably more Calvinist than John Calvin, if that's possible. He is very Calvinist to an extreme. So I would say that I definitely don't agree with everything John Piper's got to say. He did have something good right here that I've never had heard before. All right, I don't know Greek, so you'll have to trust me on when I look this up to verify how he said this. The word renewed right here, we're trying to figure out how this inner nature, if our outer nature is being destroyed every day, but our inner nature somehow has a renewal process that it's going through. I want to see what that was about. When he said that the renewed there is only used one other time, the Greek word is only used one other time in the New Testament. And it was one of those eye-opening moments you ever had reading the Bible. Eye-opening moments when I found this. Go to when he showed me this. Go to Colossians chapter 3, verse 9 and 10. I'm going to read it. All right? Colossians chapter 3, verse 9 and 10. I'll tell you where we get to the word. All right, so in verse 9 says, do not lie to one another, seeing that you have put off the old self with its practices and put on the new self, which is being renewed. There's the word. Look what comes next right here. We're trying to figure out in 2 Corinthians how are you being renewed day by day? How does that happen? If your outer nature is getting destroyed, how does the inner nature get renewed? What's happening? The only other time he used the word renewed there in that Greek word used, translated to renewed, go back to verse 10 of chapter 3 in Colossians. Ready? Which is being renewed. Look what comes next. In knowledge. In knowledge after the image of its creator. In knowledge. All right? What do you think that looks like? It says day by day. This is a daily something that what's our goal? Keep our goal in mind. We're trying to keep a heart that doesn't fail. We want one that does not, we don't want to be able to lose heart. We need to keep our heart during times where it's extreme stress or trial or struggle or whatever it looks like. We need to figure out what that is. Our outer nature is getting torn up. Our inner nature is getting renewed in knowledge day by day. So if we combine these two things, we're being renewed day by day in knowledge. What does that look like? It looks like that. We got to get this inside of us. If you want any chance of being renewed day by day, then you need to have the knowledge in you daily. We got to be feeding this to ourselves. This has got to be crammed in us. Now, I don't want to go so far to say that, hey, you can pack enough Bible knowledge in your head that all of a sudden now I got a heart that doesn't fail. If you want to just pack knowledge in your head just for the sake of doing it, that's probably, if you want to Google the best way to become a Pharisee in today's world, that's probably not step number one, right? You can find that bullet number one. Just start packing heads with knowledge so you get so much knowledge you think you got it all. You'll be puffed up with knowledge, as Paul puts it later in the Corinthians letter. So let me give you a little bit of background before we carry on to the rest of this. All right. I spent my life, for those who don't know me, I grew up in going to Bible class, going to church. Parents were Bible class teachers. I was surrounded by Bible. I was fed it. I saw it. I saw people being saved. I saw all this going on. I never really got to the point where reading the Bible was I guess the best way to say it, it was at best a chore. All right, now that's going to seem harsh to some of you out there. I'm trying to be as honest as I can right here. All right, it was a chore, as in something where I need to do more of that. Yeah, I know, I got it. I need to read more. Okay. All right, next week. Yeah, I know I should be reading more, not just when I'm at church in the building or whatnot. Yeah, I know, I need to do that. All right. Went years like that of where very little was getting put inside my head that wasn't just getting reflected off of during a Sunday sermon or during a Bible class that I was attending. It wasn't like I wasn't going. I was attending. I just wasn't, I had no desire to feed on this. I could tell you a long story about it, but I'm going to cut it real short. There was a guy that I used to work with years ago, and he looked exactly opposite of what you think a Bible person would look like. He had a long beard. He sometimes would braid it into a ponytail, long Willie Nelson hair. We used to mess with him about. He started, this was back before everybody was texting, he started texting a Bible verse to people at work. And somebody started talking about it, and I overheard it, and I thought, that's kind of neat. I guess I'd never thought about that. And for those that can't remember the days when we did text, there was a time when everyone didn't text, all right? But these are early on texting days, I guess you would say. He started filling the people's inbox every morning with a text. Boom, boom, here it comes. I said one day to somebody that I knew that was getting it from the guy, I said, hey, would he add me to that? They said, yeah, he'll add you to it. Come on. And so send him my number. The next morning I get a verse. Boom. That's all it was, just a verse. He might have said something, 2 or 3 things, what he's had to say. Next morning, boom, 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 boom. And I don't know when it hit me. I'm going to say it had to be in the hundreds of times before it hit me, as in a year later. This guy's doing this every day. He's pouring this in him every day, and somehow now I'm getting this in me. I kind of like this. Long story short, at some point, he decided he was done with that. I'm moving on to a new something. I'm going to use my efforts in another way. I don't know what that was. But I saw okay, maybe I can do this. Maybe I can do this with some other people. I can do this. And I started getting this in my head, and it was very much a checklist thing to begin with. But I want you to know something. This is the honest truth. As much as clear and as transparent as I can be, is after years of no Bible getting inside of me, things started, when I would read, all of a sudden stuff started opening up. I would read something out of Romans or out of Psalms or somewhere out of 1 John. And like I guess like Ephesians says in chapter 1, the eyes of my heart was in light. I started seeing stuff, y'all, that I had never seen. Been in church my whole life. I saw stuff I'd never seen, and it started affecting me. It started pointing me to my sin. It started pointing me to my Savior. It started pointing to some stuff that were happening around me. I saw it in today's world, and the Bible was telling me about it. It was showing my nature, what I was doing to fight it, and I was like, why am I doing it this way? It was showing me so many things that I started wanting to read it. It started it was like hey, this is kind of like, okay, give me some more of this. I need more of this inside me because this is changing who I was. All right, we'll get back to that in a minute. Let's keep going a minute. We'll come back to that in just a second. All right, so we got the first part of our secret. We're going to go to verse 17, 2 Corinthians chapter 4, verse 17. So we got the first part. We need to be filling ourselves with knowledge, and not just filling it with knowledge, but actually seeing it, grasping it, eating it, consuming it, filling us up to where it's pouring out of us. All right, that's the first part. The second part is connected to it. Ready? For this slight momentary affliction is preparing for us an eternal weight of glory beyond all comparison. Time out. All right. Now, if you want to hear me say slight momentary affliction, it might be easy to come from me living in 2020 in America. If you want to go to Paul and see what all he had to say, go to I think it's chapter 11 in this same book, verse 23, 24, 25, somewhere in there. You'll start seeing a little list of stuff he went through. He is very much an authority in the subject of suffering. So when he says slight momentary affliction, this is different than me saying it, right? All right. Let's keep rolling. You want to say, how does Paul be able to say, going through all that stuff, how can he say to this? He uses the word slight, momentary. All right? The key to that, and the key for us here about not losing heart, verse 18. As we look not to things that are seen, but to the things that are unseen. For the things that are seen are transient, the things that are unseen are eternal. If you want to keep going and dig into this some more, Paul actually repeats this process in a little different way in chapter 5, verses 1 through 7, 1 through 10 or so, somewhere in there. You'll see in verse 7, he talks about walking by faith, not by sight. So he's telling us, for those of you that are like me and they want kind of need an example and a practical something, and you see, all right, so first you tell me to fill my head with knowledge in his word. I need to do that so I can daily be renewed. I need that because I'm getting run down every day. I got to get picked back up. That's what's doing it. Great, I got that. All right, now you're telling me to look for things that are unseen. How can I look for things that are unseen? Don't get that. I don't understand. How do you look? How do you do that? All right. Let's do the opposite first. All right. We're trying to remember our goal. The goal up at the top was we don't want to lose heart. We do not want to lose heart. Verse 16. We're trying to get a heart that doesn't fail. We want a heart where it doesn't fail. We don't lose heart. And it says, one of the ways is to look to things that are unseen. That's a good point right there. Let's stop right there. Let's look at it a little different. Let me tell you how to have a heart that will fail. A heart that will get crushed and destroyed. Look to the stuff that's seen right now. Look to the stuff that's seen right now. Go look on the news right now and start looking at stuff you can see. Okay? Look at the stuff at the people that are dying alone. Look at the people that are suffering. Look at the people that have kids at home, wondering, especially the ones that have kids with special needs, ones that have issues breathing, ones that have low immune systems, on chemo, the ones that are struggling through cancer treatments or anything like that. You want to have a heart that fails? Start looking at all that. Just look at the outside of stuff you can see. You will guarantee your heart will sink with that. All right? So Paul's saying, with all that going on, we got to have a heart that can look past all that, look through all that, look beyond all that. It's something else, stuff that's not seen. How do you do that? It's tied into verse 16. When it's telling us that we got to fill our head with knowledge daily, and we got to be able to look at things that are unseen. One of the ways to be able to do that, to have that ability to look at the things that are unseen, is we got to have our head filled with knowledge of that stuff that we want to see. The unseen, the eternal, the things that God has for us, right? All right. We could look at, I've said this a lot of times, I guess, in class before, but a lot of times I need, when I see an example in someone, or I see a statement or a guarantee or a promise, I kind of need to see an example. I need to see, you need to show it to me in kind of right here. I need a concrete something, not an abstract thought. I really need that. That kind of helps me be able to process this. We could go to several different places. We could go to Stephen at his death and see how this promise to not lose heart at a horrible time when he was about to die. He didn't lose heart. If you want to see how he did it, read, I guess it's Acts chapter 7. Go check out Acts chapter 7 and death of Stephen and see how this right here, these verses 16, 17, and 18 played out in his world. If you want to look at, or we could actually look at John the Baptist when he was ripped out of prison and killed for pretty much nothing. Looked like, in the big scheme of things, you must be thinking, well, wait a minute, this isn't what I thought I had a bigger role and I'm going to get killed for this. He can't look at the things that are seen. He had to look at something bigger, right? I could give you all those different things. I guess what I want to do is give you an example of something that happened to me. And this verse, and I didn't know these verses real good at the time. This was just a couple years ago, and since then I've had this kind of, these thoughts be able to kind of come together a little bit better. And I thought that this example might be good during these times. Now, I'm not saying they're the same. I'm not saying that, I'm not trying to make light of anything that's going on right now. October 2nd, 2017, for those that don't know or don't remember, I got sick with a virus a couple days before. That was a Monday, if I'm not mistaken. Monday, I come home from work. I got 100 and something fever. I walk in the door, sick. Now I won't give you all the boring details. Being the typical guy, I don't go to the doctor till Wednesday. That's obviously, I mean, that's what we all do, right? 2-day rule, isn't that what we do? We wait till 2 days. I've got 104 fever now. We hurting now. So we're at the doctor. They give me a shot, something, send me back home. Say, if your fever hasn't not down and better by this afternoon, come back and see us. How about that afternoon? I wake up and 2, 3, 4 o'clock. I got 104.7 fever. Fever's not going down. Shots they give me not working. I'm on the way to the ER. Tell you all the boring details if you want to hear them. By that night, I'm in the ER, hooked up with getting drugs pumped into me, splitting headache, getting drugs pumped into me, a fever that will not go down, just hanging there. And now I'm after getting IV fluids pumped in me because I'm dehydrated, I start feeling I can't breathe. I'm laying there like, how come the lungs that we've been able to fill up when I chased my kids around the yard the other day, how come these lungs ain't filling up really? I didn't like that. Something wasn't right. All right, we got a secondary pneumonia has set in. I'm sitting in there, I'm like, how is this? And then the next day, it don't get any better. By Friday, I'm sitting there and they've packed, my fever won't break. They're giving me all kind of drugs to where I'm just in a constant state of, I don't know what in the world's happening. At one point, I've got ice bags all over me, between my legs, under my arms, on my back, on my neck, covering me, and they got a cool rag over my eyes. This is where I wanted to tell you. I spare you the gory details. They got a cloth over my eyes. This is Friday. My condition's gotten worse. I thought, what is going on? All right. They've changed doctors on me once. My eyes are covered. I can't see anything, which is kind of interesting when it talks about the unseen here. It's not literally, I know, but it's a weird coincidence here. All right. My eyes are covered up. At some point, I noticed that the wheels on my bed have been turned or have been unlocked. So I'm getting moved around. I'm like, what in the world? I'm moving around. The nurse, there's massive chaos in my room. There's people moving around, strapping, moving, and shaking, and all this stuff. And I hear somebody say, ICU, we need him there now. ICU now. She's talking about me. I need to be in the ICU? Then I hear another voice say, no, we can't come in the ICU. We don't have any room. There are already 2 in there just like him. And it hits me. I'm like, y'all don't know what's wrong with me. Y'all don't know what's wrong with me. And there's somebody else out there got the same thing. There's some crazy virus going on, and y'all don't know how to fix it, and it's killing me. And the thought hits my head right then. It hits my head. Is this it? Is this it? That's the word. That's the phrase that hit my head. Is this it? All right. And I remember I didn't tell anybody this story. It was days before I told my wife about this story. Days later. It was probably a year later before I told anybody else. And I only told a few people then one time in a class. We had probably 8 or 10 people. I told a few people. And what happens next right here, I want y'all to pay attention because it has something to do with this. Now, if you want me to have seen a vision or picture Jesus coming down or a white light or a bright light or told the future, I'm sorry to disappoint you. I ain't going to be able to tell you that. All right? I'm going to tell you this is what happened. All right? I want you to put yourself in that spot. What would you think when you're laying there and there's nothing you can do, you can't move, and you think, is this it? I'll tell you what I thought. All right? Tell you what went through my head first. I said, 35 years old. Man, I didn't think he was going to end like this. I thought, really, I knew I could die at any moment. I know that. I've known that for a while. I've come to terms with that. But I didn't know it was going to be right now. And this feeling of, oh, man. And then the next thought was, and I don't know how to describe this. Maybe y'all can help me put this into words better. It was I didn't think these words, but the thought, it's like it was your thoughts are getting away from your words before you did. I started thinking, all right, if this is it, what's next? What's next? Now, instead of my mind being filled with regrets of, oh man, I'm about to leave my wife, I'm about to leave my 3 boys, each one of them. All the stuff I didn't do, all the stuff that I did bad, all those things could have churned through my head and just gripped my throat and panicked and in agony of anxiety and sadness and all that could have just overwhelmed me. But it didn't. When I thought, is this it? And then I thought, the next step, what's next? The phrase that entered my mind was, I'm glad I don't have to earn my way there. Now, for those that don't know where that comes from, you can turn to Ephesians chapter 2, read 1 through 9, 1 through 10, read Ephesians chapter 2, and you'll see that thought. You'll see that thought in there. Now notice, I didn't quote any scripture. I didn't come up with any kind of deep theological something. I didn't give you any kind of things that deep kind of thought, other than that thought hit my head from Ephesians chapter 2, which I had been studying. Those who know me, I don't do a good job studying. I read, and I've been reading in that section. That's the thought that hit my head. Now, somebody might be sitting there saying, all right, Nick, now you just one of these Christian people that when bad things happen, you always got that good answer, your positive attitude. Let me tell you, the people that know me the best would say right here, wrong. Nick, natural inclination, natural instinct is to panic, to run, to go to the worst possible scenario, to be hopeless, to be all these things. That's me, cynical to the worst extreme. That's where I get under normal circumstances. But the grace of God, the thought of the grace of God, and by the grace of God, what put in my head right then, what entered my head right there, not those thoughts, is what I'd been renewed daily. That's what that's what went in my head. That's what went into my thoughts. And I'll tell you, when that thought came to my head, as I sat there and thought, is this it? What's next? Man, I'm glad I don't have to earn my way there. A calmness came over me that I cannot describe to you. There was a peace, almost like just a deep breath went, whew. Okay. And about 5 seconds later, as that went on, the doctor came in. I can't see none of this. I just hear. She came in. I heard her voice. Wait a minute. What's going on? And everybody stopped. She said, what are you doing? What is everyone doing? And they started talking about how she should stop. And she looked at me. I could feel her looking at me. I couldn't see her. I could feel her looking at me. She said, Mr. Taylor, where are you? And I said, I'm in the hospital. I guess they thought I was asleep. I was listening to everything they got to say. I'm in the hospital. She said, Mr. Taylor, what day is it? I told her the day. Tell her the date. I told her the date. She said, who's the president? I thought it was kind of funny because it's the first time I ever really thought about it. Donald Trump was the president. That's kind of weird at that point in time. I said, Donald Trump. She said, everybody relax. If you need him to go somewhere, come and see me. Lock his wheels back and relax. All right? So that little spiritual moment went right out the door, and in come a real physical, normal reality, right? Came popping back in. All right? Now, within 24 hours, the fever had gone away. The breathing had gotten better. Pneumonia was gone within a couple of days. Don't ask me how. All that stuff went away instantly. I was driving home, and within less than 2 days later, I'm being driven home 20 pounds lighter, but for as good as I could be, I was good. And I started thinking back on that moment. It hit me every now and then, that moment. And I would go back and I would try to process what had happened. So why am I telling you this? You know, I don't want to give you a false hope of anything other than to say you might get this virus. Not the one I had, and conspiracy theorists, y'all stop. 2 years ago, probably wasn't the same virus that's going on right now. I know how some of you think. All right. What I'm saying is there is a chance you get this virus that's going on around right now. It's a good chance that I get it. Good chance that someone around you gets it. And you could be sitting in that hospital by yourself with nobody else but your thoughts and what you've been putting in your head. Now, there's some of us around here, and I've told my wife a few times that I'm so glad that sickness happened at this phase in my life and not before I was putting that stuff in my head. Because I can't imagine the thoughts that would have went through my head before the Bible started getting put in my head. I can't imagine that. That's something that I don't even want to try to put into words what that would have looked like. I don't want you to have to be, I don't want you to have to say, man, I wish I would have done this. I wish somebody would have told me how this works. I wish somebody would have told me that I could start putting stuff, I could start putting this word and start asking God, like in Ephesians chapter 1, verse 18, where it says, open the eyes of your heart. Is it open your eyes of your heart to your word? Be able to see it, be able to feel it, want it in my head. I wish somebody would have told me that. And you could be sitting there saying, I wish Nick would have told me that. I wanted to share that story to give you a concrete example of how this verse works. All right. Now, there's a good chance that none of us get this virus, and none of us are sitting in that hospital with a little, sitting with a nurse with a face shield on while everybody's treating you like you have leprosy in the old times. And there's monitors beeping, there's ventilators pumping, and all these things, and you got to talk to somebody on your screen of your phone, and that's your loved one, and they can't be there with you. I don't want you to have to go through that without your heart being locked up tight with this verse. Don't want you to go through that. Now, there's a chance that, like I said before, that none of us are going to get this, but there's a chance that we will. It might not be today, it might not be this month, but at some point, we're going to be having a situation that hits us like that. And I'm going to have it again, more than likely. It could be 6 days from now, 60 years, or next week, whatever it is, where we're having that moment. I want you to have this section to where you will be able to look at the things that are not seen, not the stuff that's around you, but you'll be able to see beyond that. And I want you to be able to have the word being put in your head. Whatever that looks like. If you need to find somebody to do that daily with, to get you in the habit before it kind of takes root and it starts kind of snowball effect to where it gets inside you and you want it inside you, whatever it takes. You know, there's so many people that are scared of death right now. There's so many people that are panicking, and the fear of death is always lying around, and we serve the one that conquered death. You go back up in the same section, look at verse 14. Knowing that he who raised Jesus will also raise us. He might not save you from this virus, but the resurrection is not just for him, it's for us now. If you don't know what I'm talking about and you don't have that's the salvation that the Bible brings, you need to get on the comments below, find out how to contact us, go to our church website, Northport Church of Christ, find out how to contact somebody and get that so you can have this hope. This is a promise from God. This is a promise from Paul, a secret from Paul that we can use. But it's no shortcut. There's no hack. There's no, let's try to figure out the back way to do this the easy way. There's no easy way. It's as simple as what it says in the word there. Got to put it in your head daily. And it's got to be with an open heart, wanting to have it in there to where you got to do that first before you can even get to the part about being able to see the unseen. I'm going to be honest, I was very hesitant for years, and even up until 5 minutes before I got in front of the camera for this video, of telling you that story, because I don't want you to think it's about me and how I'm something special, because I'm not. I can assure you I'm not. If anybody needs to be comforted by grace, and I don't have to earn my way there, it should be me. I can promise you that. If you need anything from us, if there's something else you want to study in this, let me know. I hope this has been uplifting to you. I hope that, if anything, uplifting may be the wrong word. I hope this has been eye-opening to you to where it points you to him, points you to the way to have hope, the only thing that can be promised and the only thing that can be assured of in this world, and that's his hope and him resurrecting you and him to give you a heart that will not fail no matter what this slight momentary affliction looks like. That's what I wanted to share today. I appreciate y'all listening. I hope that you can tune back in. I hope we have a chance to do some more of these. Northport has some other teachers that will be giving some lessons soon. Tune into those. I appreciate y'all, and we'll talk to you soon.